We have paused one shipment. We are reviewing others. But as the president made clear, we will always be committed to Israel's defense. We will always be committed to helping Israel defend itself against Hamas, Hezbollah, the threat from Iran, the threat from other terrorist groups and malign actors. But when we look at a potential operation in Rafah, the president made clear that we are not going to provide them certain weapons that they could use in such an operation.
Total contradiction there. First he says they're ironclad, then he says, well, we're going to hold them back. Joining me right now is Congressman Russell Fry, a member of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees, also a member of the Weaponization of the Federal Government Select Subcommittee. Congressman, thanks very much. Give us your reaction to President Biden now saying he's going to stop sending, he's not going to send weapons if they go into Rafah.
It is totally ludicrous, Maria, just to see this happening. We still have American citizens that are in Gaza that have not been rescued, and the Israeli government seems to be doing more to try to get them back than our own. And so to hold these weapons back when you've had the biggest terrorist attack within Israel on October 7th, I think is absolutely reprehensible that they would hold this back. This wasn't part of the deal when House Republicans in the White House passed this Israel aid. This wasn't part of the conditions. Now President Biden seems to be changing course yet again. They say that it's ironclad. They say that they stand with Israel, but of late they have done nothing to do that.
And the critics keep saying, Biden's critics keep saying this is all about votes. He wants to show the pro-Palestinian vote out there that he's against Israel. But is this empowering those pro-Palestinian protesters, empowering the other side?
Well, I think it's empowering them to be bolder, and it's certainly empowering Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran when they see daylight between the United States and Israel. But I don't think that it's really working with the voters. I mean, I think pretty clearly we've seen video in the last couple of weeks of them chanting FJB on these college campuses. So I don't know that it's actually working in the way that they intend it to do, but that certainly seems to be President Biden's own political calculus right now.
And yet, the White House National Security Communications Advisor, John Kirby, is doubling down on Biden's plans and this ultimatum, adding his view on how a Rafah invasion would affect Hamas. Watch this.
I think the president was crystal clear last night that if they do smash into Rafah, go in and invade in a major way, then he's going to have to make future decisions. But again, we hope it doesn't come to that. Our view is that Rafah operations, certainly any kind of major Rafah ground operation.
What about that, Congressman? He's basically saying that even if they go into Rafah, you're not going to destroy Hamas. The Israeli side is telling us, no, that is where Hamas is. That's their home base, Rafah.
No, you're exactly right. We just got back from Israel a couple weeks ago, and that is the last holdout, the last stronghold of Hamas. They've wiped them out everywhere else within the Gaza Strip. They're camped out in Rafah, of course, amongst civilians. The Israeli government seems to be doing everything they can to try to protect civilians. And so the last objective is to go take Rafah and to wipe out Hamas. They cannot continue to govern this portion of Palestine in a way that harms not only their own citizens, but the Israeli citizens as well. You visit these villages on the southern border of Israel, and you see the damage and destruction caused by Hamas. They can't continue to operate in Gaza the way that they have for years.
I want to get your take on the weaponization of government, Congressman, because I know that you're on this subcommittee, but I haven't heard a peep out of this committee while Donald Trump sits in a courtroom in Manhattan all day long, while Joe Biden is over there campaigning, going to all the swing states. What do you want to say about the weaponization of government as Trump sits in that courtroom hearing from a porn star all day long?
Well, it's remarkable, and we actually just had a great hearing on free speech and Biden administration's censorship of Americans' free speech by using social media companies like Facebook and Google. But again, this is the two-tiered system of justice that has concerned me for a very long time, that you have a weaponized DOJ that is politically targeting and aiding these state prosecutors, and of course they have their own cases. Meanwhile, President Biden is able to do whatever he wants to do. This doesn't happen in America, and I think that is we understand this, and I think most Americans see it for what it is, and polling reflects that. Most Americans believe that the prosecution of President Trump is more about politics than it is about some violation of the law. And with this New York case, Maria, they had to extend the statute of limitations via the state legislature just to be able to prosecute him. So people are frustrated by this because this isn't who we are in our DNA, in our fabric as a country. If you want to go to a banana republic, you'll see that. But this is not what happens here in the United States.
That's all fine and good, Congressman, but why aren't you being louder about this? Why aren't I hearing anything from this committee? I had to just ask you about it, okay? Just let me be clear. Viewers are sick and tired of hearings. They're sick and tired of letters. They're sick and tired of hearing complaints. They want action. President Trump is in a trial all day long, every day in New York City. Where is this committee of weaponization, and what are you doing about it? I just spoke with Kevin Hassett, the former chairman of the White House Economics Council, and he said, make no mistake, if we see President Trump go to jail because he violated this gag order, markets will react. Watch this.
The case in New York that the judge is being so, undemocratic, unconstitutional in his rulings against President Trump. It really looks like there's a conspiracy to put him in jail, to put him behind bars. And if President Trump is in chains going to Rikers Island, then, would you want to buy a U.S. Treasury the next day? The thing that I'm really worried about short-term risks for the economy is that the Democrats are serious in this lawfare. And if they actually succeed, then imagine it's like we become a banana republic the moment they take him to Rikers. And I just can't imagine what happens to Treasury markets that day.
Okay, Congressman, we're losing the country. So with all due respect, I'm not blaming you specifically, but it's not enough to set up a committee that's called the weaponization of federal government. That's not doing it for anybody. We want to hear more from you. We want to hear action. We want to know what the heck is going on in this New York trial where nobody can seem to come up with a crime.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm specifically doing. Of course, I serve on these committees. I don't chair them necessarily, but I serve on them. Happy to play whatever part because I agree with you. I've introduced and we have actually passed out of the Judiciary Committee the No More Political Prosecutions Act, which would actually inhibit state prosecutors from being able to go after presidents, former presidents like they are. It would remove these venues in the state of New York, Atlanta, and elsewhere to a federal court should the president decide to do it. It has passed the Judiciary Committee. We're waiting on it to be voted on in the House. These are substantive things I think that we can be doing to inhibit and stop these elected Democratic prosecutors from targeting President Trump. New York is rife with crime. They've got murders and all types of chaos within their subways and on their streets. And they're using every bit of capital they have to go after a presidential candidate on a statute that they actually had to extend the statute of limitations for. So this bill is one of a larger package, I think, that could work, but it is certainly something that I'm pushing.
All right, Congressman, we will be watching your work. We appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Maria.
All right, Congressman Russell Fry joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.